Well, it turns out President Trump kept another huge campaign promise to gun owners. This one may not be talked about a whole lot, but I believe it is crucial to what President Trump is doing long term for gun owners, but also in the short term, how this will affect not only you, but also FFLs that serve us. Trump is really meticulously, at least from what it seems, tearing this organization down bit by bit, and today you're going to see exactly what he's doing this time. So I'd love to get your opinion on this. Do you think this goes far enough? Is this something that you're excited to see? Let me know. Whatever your opinion is, leave it down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So according to the DOJ, they are cutting 2/3 of the ATF inspectors, the guys that go out and make sure that FFLs are in compliance and looking for errors and clerical errors. This was really bad under the Biden administration. They're actually cutting 541 of those jobs out of the total 800 that are out there. Now, there was about 160 of these guys added under the Biden administration, which, considering there's 800 total, that's a pretty big number. And he also added like 140 other agents. So it added, literally millions of dollars that we were paying for in order for our FFLs to serve us to be harassed more. Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes we don't have control of where our money actually goes. And this is one of those areas that is so crucial, because if you look at the statistics under the Biden administration, it is astronomical the amount of gun shops and FFLs that actually closed, whether by force essentially, or the ones that voluntarily gave up their licenses. It went from an estimated 29, they talk about the later half of 2021, about 29 total of ones that voluntarily surrendered and others that were forced to shut down. Then in 2022, it was 157. Then in 2023, it was 237. And I even seen reports of last year, there being over 1,600 FFLs that closed their doors. Now, they say that a very small percentage of these FFLs actually closed down because of clerical errors, but we do have evidence that there was more than quite a few that were actually shut down because of simple errors. There was an easy pawn shop out of Colorado that had their FFL revoked because they put the wrong reference number in the background check. Now, the background check was still performed, and yet just because the wrong number was input, their license was revoked. Capital City Arms in Wyoming, they didn't put in proof of a background check into their inspection packet. FFL was revoked. Joplin Centerfire in Joplin, Missouri actually said that they received a good bill of health, I guess, from a previous audit from one of these inspectors. Everything was good. But then once the zero tolerance policy went into place that Biden put, then they were actually threatened, like they were re-audited, and these guys came after them even harder. Just with the signature of the president at the time, it really clamped down on a lot of these FFLs. And you got to think, 2,000 pages worth of just regulations and new rulings and the Gun Control Act and the NFA and bound books, and there's just a lot that they have to deal with, right? And any business where you're dealing with a lot of paperwork, there's going to be errors. And unfortunately, a lot of these FFLs, right, the vast majority of them are on the up and up. They know that mistakes in this area could cost them their livelihoods, especially under the Biden administration. So these guys are very meticulous when it comes to paperwork. And look, some of these FFLs don't have to do this, right? Some of them do it just part-time, right? To help themselves out, to help out their families, but they're also helping out a lot of us as well, because unfortunately, these rules and regulations fall upon us as well. And so most of us deal with FFLs in order to exercise our rights. So we need these guys to be there. And when you have, upwards of 1,600 maybe in 2024 that are shutting down, some of them voluntarily saying, dude, I don't really need this. It's a form of gun control that disguises itself in the name of compliance. And a lot of gun shops, especially under the Biden administration, talked about how they've seen these inspections as a form of harassment almost. Now, granted, This agency or these inspectors never got too big. You have over 100,000 FFLs in the United States, right? So you have, upwards of 800 at one point inspecting, and who knows how many more would have been added if Trump wasn't voted in, right? If you had 157, 237, 1,600 FFLs actually closed down in 3 years, imagine if they would have added another 200 or 400. It's just 800 for 100,000 FFLs. That's a pretty scary thing that a lot of these guys were having to navigate. There was a DOJ-backed study from inmates that, where they asked them, hey, where did you get a gun from? And like 1.3% of them said that they got them through legal means or through an FFL. There's other studies that show, 55%, I think this is an ATF-backed one actually, 55% of guns come illegally, 25% from friends or family, and less than 7% actually come from an FFL. Now, take those numbers from the ATF with a grain of salt, but I think it still represents the vast majority of firearms are not coming from FFLs. Well, why? Well, that's because criminals that are looking to do harm don't care about your background checks. You could pass 1 million different gun laws, and you know what they say? Well, I'm not going to an FFL anyways. They get them through illicit means. I think there was 1 million guns stole from 2017 to 2021, and most of those were stolen from citizens. And then what happens when you shut down these FFLs? Well, people still have the right to exercise those rights, and what are they going to do? Well, they're going to go to another private person. So the same types of sales where they push these universal background checks and they say, oh, private sales, you shouldn't be able to do that, which you absolutely should, by the way. They push more people to go that route than to go through an FFL. Not every single city has multiple gun shops that you can go to. So you're literally leading people down a road to still exercise their rights within a legal fashion, but to do that without the FFL, and the same thing that so many of these politicians say they fear, which is unfounded as well, to be quite honest with you, they lead them down that exact road when you shut down FFLs over simple errors. Most gun shops are totally in compliance, the vast majority of them. This is also coming from the same organization that set up Fast and Furious, by the way, knowingly selling guns illegally. I digress, though. This is a great move by the Trump administration. I think it's leading, though, to the whole ATF-DEA merger. By taking more people away from the ATF, more sources from the ATF, it points to them actually doing this merger. And I talked about this a couple of days in a video, how it sounds like a good idea, right? The ATF goes away, but now they actually have a bigger budget with the DEA, who is known for doing no-knock warrants, stealing and seizing property. Now you incorporate guns into the mix. You also have people that don't know the regulations, right? So FFLs could be delayed. People could have unfair denials. There's a lot that goes into that. This move specifically is good. Just hope somebody kind of bends the ear of Trump and the DOJ, Pam Bondi, whoever, and says, hey, we need to think about a better route here to get rid of the ATF for sure, but make sure that our FFLs and our people that are serving citizens are not being restricted their 2A rights in the process, or creating an even more dangerous boogeyman in the process as well. So there you go. There's my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold it down.